All right, hello everybody. I'm Josiah, aka Reality Josiah, and we are here to talk through the social web of the three house guests who are currently on the block, the key alliance that's currently happening in the house, and then one alliance that's going a little bit under the radar that not enough people are talking about, but I think is one that could really change the entire game if things fall the right way for them. But let's start off by talking through the three house guests who are currently on the block. If you can't tell, there's going to be spoilers here. First things first, we're looking at Ashley's web. Ashley is someone who I liked a lot coming into the house. I still like Ashley a lot, but she's being very disappointing. And it's hard to tell for those of you who don't even know what we're doing here. There's not really strong connections here for Ashley. She has a nice relationship with Melody, Lyric, Mallory. I think they all like her, but there's nothing legit here. They're not really talking game often. And when they do, like we've seen her talk game with like Melody and Lyric, especially once Mallory is put on the block because they were all so surprised by that. But nothing really came from it. And Ashley also knows of Melody, once you're on the block, there's a pretty good chance she doesn't really want to work with you too much. A huge flaw in her game. But the issue here for Ashley, she's just not talking enough with other people. She's really solid in group settings. I think everyone likes Ashley, but she isn't having enough conversations where she's talking game with people. She's playing too passively. She might be able to survive this week, but even that is going to be tough for her going against people like Taylor and Yash. She's just going to have to be a little bit more aggressive. There's hope for her still, but we just need to see a little bit more game conversation from her right now because right now she's just not connected enough to anyone in particular who's going to fight for her. Next up, Yash is in a very similar situation to Ashley, but the thing I like about Yash is he's been a bit more aggressive. He's had conversations with pretty much everybody. The problem is the conversations are basically, yeah, I'm on the block. I want people to think I care because I know I've been really chill about it, but I really do want to be here. I just don't want to freak out. And then people respond with, yeah, you're handling this very well, Yash. You're doing great. Oh, okay. Are you going to vote to keep him? Or are you not? He's been campaigning, he's been putting in some work, but he's just not building anything concrete. He's just not making a case. His argument for why he should stay isn't bad, but it's just not enough to make people actually decide they want to keep Yash. I think between now and Thursday, we will see people go back and forth. Yash isn't dead in the water yet, but he first of all, has to find a way to win the blockbuster, which I always think is a 50-50 crapshoot type of competition. He could not. But right now, he just doesn't have the votes. What's weird is he has decent relationships with people like Barrett, Rome. I think they both like him enough, but Barrett hasn't gone to back for him at all, which is kind of surprising. But it's something we've seen from Barrett a couple of times, which we'll talk a bit more when we get to the crossovers. Barrett's just not really fighting for people that I think could have been his. And Yash is one of those people who now might go home. Rome and Yash had a pretty good start from what we saw in the feeds. It's just Rome isn't the type of player that's really overly aggressive because he's low key locked in on his girl Lyric. And so Yash just doesn't have enough strong relationships right now. And just with where he is right now, I don't know if he'll end up getting into an alliance that will actually solidify his social web. So for now, Yasha's just pretty unconnected, which is what can make it pretty easy for people to make you want to go home. We look at the differences, like Ashley has people like Melody, Lyric, Mallory, hoping she stays, but no one willing to fight for her. Yash kinda has a Barrett and Rome as people who are relatively close to him, but we could really have connected him to almost anybody, and it would be the same result. Absolutely no one's going to go to bat for him. Things are a little bit different with Taylor. Taylor has strong connections, which is good, but as we're starting to see already today, people are starting to realize why are we all committed to keeping Taylor when she has actual people she's close to in comparison to people like Ashley and Yash who have absolutely nobody that they're connected to. It makes a lot more sense to get rid of someone like Taylor, who actually does have some connections here. And so Taylor, I have connected to Lala. That's a thing. They're locked in. They're going to work together and have each other's back no matter what. We've seen that since day one of the feeds. That's going to continue to be the case no matter what. Mom daughter type of relationship there. They get along very well. Jason and Taylor also have a strong relationship. They're close, but there's nothing formalized from what I've seen yet by them. But Jason, in maybe almost definitely too many conversations, I've heard him say, yeah, like Taylor's my girl. I've got her. We can basically utilize her however we want to. So they're very close. And then Taylor and Mallory have had some very strong conversations too. And so I would put them a little bit closer than others because they both have been on the block, some trauma bonding stuff happening there. The issue is, well, with Taylor, she has had very strong conversations with pretty much everyone in the house, and that's why she's not a target as of right now. People like D just could pick up from her energy, oh, Taylor's not coming after me. And Taylor genuinely is not coming after D if she stays. And I think doing so well with the HOH in that situation has really kind of put her in this spot. But we are going to start to see people realizing that, hey, Jason's going for the vets. Jason's close to Taylor. We've heard Angela make this argument today, too. If we get rid of Taylor, we're hurting Jason. And that's going to be a pretty good argument if you ask me. And there's enough time where this could really start to become a thing. It's going to get interesting. But for now, Taylor is definitely the strongest connected player socially who's currently on the block. All right, let's look at the crossovers. And for me, I'm not just looking at alliances. I want to look at the alliances and say, hey, who are the actual people connected here that have the stronger relationships that will really kind of help drive who's making decisions in the alliance and try to understand their reasoning for why they're making some of those calls. And so, starting off, we have the crossovers. Of course, it's Drew, Devins, D, Angela, Barrett. This is interesting because we have D kind of at the heart of this. She's HOH, so we'll see if that changes at all. But D and Devins locked in. Each other's 1 and 2 for now. Angela and D locked in. Angela sees her as her number 1. D sees her as her number 2. Really strong group right here. But D's still the biggest beneficiary because Angela and Devins, she's both for their number 1. It's in an interesting spot where it seems like he's fine with everybody, and we saw that heading into the POV competition. Pretty much everyone was like, yeah, I'll pick Barrett to play with me. He's cool with everyone. No one's really coming after Barrett. He's just in a pretty good spot. But he doesn't have too much going on outside of the crossovers. I'm worried he might be a little bit too dependent on them. And even within the crossovers, I would love for him to find a real number 2. I think he thinks that's Devins, but from the outside looking in, I think Drew and Devins have a bit of a better relationship than Barrett and Devins. Barrett might not want to do it. I haven't seen him seem overly excited to work with Angela too much. I know he's a fan of Angela's and all that, but I mean, like, her being his number 2, I think that would put him in a pretty solid spot just because right now he's looking like the odd man out. And part of that is because Drew has been such an aggressive player. He's building relationships outside of this alliance where he's going to be in a pretty solid spot if the alliance doesn't decide to turn on him for a lot of the reasons. If you all keep up with a lot of the live feeds, there's a lot of drama right now where Drew is trying to tell Devins, D, Angela, the rest of the alliance that Jason's coming for them, and they believe it, but there's also some hesitation because Angela in particular doesn't love Drew, and that's starting to spread to D some too. Little bit of paranoia, but that's what's happening. And so the thing here that I want to highlight is I do think Drew and Devins are significantly closer. Those seem like very, very strong bonds. And then outside of that, Drew has a pretty strong relationship with Melody. They're basically working together at this point. The problem is Drew takes all this information and tells Devins, D, and Angela and the rest of the alliance. And so this is a great relationship for Drew to have where he's able to stretch outside of the alliance, but he's going to need a little bit more than that. And I would have liked for him to keep at least part of it secret. We saw yesterday Drew and Melody were talking and flirting around with the idea of getting something with Lyric, maybe adding in someone like Rome. That could be a very strong alliance that could really balance things out a little bit. If we have Drew, Melody, Lyric, Rome, Devins and D have Chuck, Kamu, and Haley in the red corner. The red corner at this point for me is almost completely fake with Devins and D both constantly shit talking Haley. It seems like a matter of time before Kamu, Haley end up being on the block if they don't win HOH next week, almost for sure. That's part of why they don't have their own slide. It's just they're just a part of D and Devin's social web at this point. So I like what Drew's doing here. He has strong connections outside of just the core alliance. And then my biggest concern is really Barrett because Barrett doesn't have as many just solidified partners. And part of the problem with Barrett is, he, at least in my opinion, he gives up on people a little bit too quickly. So I thought originally, at least when the feeds first kicked off, him and Ashley seemed like they were vibing, like they had a very strong relationship. It seemed like Ashley was someone Barrett definitely could work with. And the next thing I know, he was pretty open to Ashley going on the block. It seems like he didn't like her too much and isn't willing to really fight for her at all in this game. Whereas I think she could have been a great asset to him. And I have a very similar feeling. I just talked about it with Barrett and Yash. Like Yash and Barrett have strong conversations where it seems like they definitely could work well together and have really good trust. But Barrett doesn't really push the envelope, isn't really fighting for Yash. And I'm sure he probably has good arguments for that. Like if he did start to go to back, hey, we should keep Yash. Maybe he doesn't think there's enough other people who would feel as strongly about that, but I like to see him try a little bit just because I think he does need more connections outside of just this alliance. Angela's a very similar case, but she's much closer to D. Both Angela and Barrett, and really Devins too, are all fighting for that second spot next to D to be her number one, which is just a game I wouldn't love to be playing if I was in their shoes. And then we talked about it. The red corner, I don't really care about them too much, but they are pieces that Devins and D have that make them more and more powerful. But them crapping on Haley all the time does make their position a bit worse. And then when it comes to targets, we know like Jason's going after the vets, and so that's going to be a little bit more dangerous for them. And then Mallory in particular is hitting and going to go after D pretty hard, but she's also talking about Kamu and Haley. I do think if Jason and Mallory kind of brainstorm, if one of them win HOH, might not be too hard to talk Mallory in particular into taking a shot on Barrett and Drew if they decide that it's not really Haley and Kamu. But that's more theory crafting. We are not there yet. But I like this spot for the crossovers. They are definitely dominating the game so far, but there's still room for improvement. And I think part of that is really just Barrett, Angela in particular, really just upping their game, getting closer. And Angela has done well, just kind of talking with everyone, but maybe trying to solidify something with Taylor or Lyric or Rome, just trying to get out there a little bit more to not be completely stuck on the crossovers like they are currently. And I think Angela's in her own head a little bit too because she's heard the rumors about her and Lala. She now feels betrayed by Jason. And so I think Angela's more on her own journey instead of trying to figure out the best way of trying to build some social capital. But I think Barrett has the head for it, so hopefully he can get that going for himself here soon. Now, the alliance that I think people are aware of, but they're not talking enough about, because I think this is the interesting point, is Mama's Angels. And Mama's Angels is Lala, Rome, and Jason. They had a whole moment about a day or two ago where they're like, Mama's Angels. And they had a whole thing. It was kind of cute. The issue with Mama's Angels are simply the people involved. Jason's a little messy. He's talking to absolutely everybody about absolutely everything. And so it just creates for a little bit of a sloppy gameplay where people are going to know who you're targeting. They're going to know your strategy. So you better win if you want to back that up. Rome, I think, has so much potential in this game, but he's so stuck on Lyric. It's like he's not playing it fully. I don't think he really cares. But if he locked in, he's cool with basically everyone in the house. And surprisingly, there aren't too many people coming for him. besides the red corner. Like Kamu, Haley, and them aren't fans. But outside of them, he's in a pretty solid spot and he has some strong connections, which we'll touch on. And then Lala's a part of this too. Her strongest connection is Taylor. Rome's strongest connection is Lyric. But if you just look at who these people are close to, and Jason's pretty much connected to everybody besides the crossover, and I think he's in a pretty solid spot for himself. But he's targeting dangerous people. But if you look at Lala, Rome, and Jason, if one of them can win HOH next week, they should be able to solidify something very strong. You could have a very powerful alliance of Lala, Taylor, Melody, Lyric, Rome, Jason. That's already a very solid six. You should pretty easily be able to get Mallory. Melody hates Mallory for absolutely no reason. If she can get past that, you add someone like Mallory in there and you're looking much stronger. The thing is, too, it doesn't really matter who stays or goes this week. You can replace Taylor with Ashley and Yash, or replace Yash with Ashley and Taylor. Either way, this is a very strong, potentially 8-person alliance that could and should be able to go directly against your Devons, D, Haley, Barrett, Chuck, Kamu, Yash, Drew. Jason and Rome, Lyric, Mallory all seem like they can be strong competitive threats. I would love to see this group come together. They're halfway there with Lala, Rome, and Jason, but I need this group to be a little bit more aggressive. And I wouldn't doubt that Jason has the ability to bring a group like this together. The problem is he trusts Drew a little bit too much, and Drew, Devins, and D are going to work in overtime to try and stop Jason from creating anything like this. But that's pretty much it, y'all. It's been an interesting season. This is the first social web. I know the visuals weren't great. I'm going to work on improving those with time and then also just make the flow a little bit quicker. But I'm excited. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what happens on Thursday, too. I think most likely Yash goes home because everyone always assumes the guy's gonna win, and then they usually don't, and then they vote him out. If he does win, I would hate to see Ashley or Taylor go for real. Ashley, because I just think she has a lot more potential in the game, but I would prefer to see Ashley leave than Taylor because Taylor's just bringing a little bit more, and she's currently on slop and she's going through all that stuff. So I would like to see what she looks like or acts like without all of the things kind of going against her right now. So we'll see. I will do another video probably on Thursday or Friday, potentially win equity, but we might do a quick power rankings video too. So have a good one, y'all. Peace out. Bye.